Are we in a period of growth, saturation, or transition?
One thing I really like with the Dahua range is there is a big range. Like you said, you've got your 1 series camera, which is your bog standard sort of, which now is smart hybrid light as well.
We have a dedicated team. We have for the security industry. We have a dedicated team to different verticals and what have you. So we've got people out there in hospitality, in retail, in education. We're going after those pillars, if you like, but then generally we have a mass approach to the market.
One of the biggest areas was actually early fire detection. That is a massive growth area.
Customers are moving towards probably more cost-effective but feature-rich products.
But there has to be that appetite as well from the other side. We have to, we're creatures of habit, but those guys that have never touched it before, they want to stay relevant, they're going to have to embrace it, and we are making that easy to do so.
Probably trained just under kind of 1,000 engineers this year so far on our sites and distributor sites, and those courses will be our associate course, which is only, in terms of training time, kind of 4 or 5 hours, I guess, something like that. Then you've got your professional, which is like a day, and then you've got your expert, which is a full intense day, and actually you can have different variants of that, so it could be multiple.
Welcome to Room Secured. Today's panel brings together 3 very different sides of the video surveillance world, and that's exactly why this conversation is going to be interesting. We've got Michael Lawrence from Dahua, representing one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. We've got Steve Klapiscak from TP-Link, a global networking brand, now pushing deeper into video surveillance. And we've got James Bentley from J&S Security, who works directly with installers and sees what really happens day to day. It's rare to get these perspectives in the same conversation, so this is a chance to hear an honest view of what's actually happening in the market, what installers value, how brands build trust, and why networking companies are increasingly moving into surveillance. No polished pitch, no rehearsed line, just straight conversation from 3 people who look at the industry from completely different angles. Let's just dive straight into it. First topic I want to open up this podcast with is, how do you guys see the state of the UK video surveillance market at the moment? Are we in a period of growth, saturation, or transition?
Maybe I go. I think it's certainly I think we're in a position of definite growth, but also transition. I think transition from kind of core video security, recording, evidential, through to more kind of integrated solutions, which is growing the market. So video security and solutions being much more than just security elements. And
more AI stuff kind of
I think
deeping into it.
AI is definitely
it's a big
core part of
buzzword
it,
as the
and
whole.
We'll come. I'm sure we'll discuss AI a lot later in terms of how AI has enabled the industry to transform from, say, pure security to more operational capability that's adding value to end users, whether it's kind of retail, kind of public space, etc., where you've got security managers who can now add value to an overall business.
Yeah, they're not just sat there watching something.
They're not just
being more reactive.
They're not just protecting kind of assets, anymore. I think in terms of, on the growth side, we are seeing, growth generally in the market. I would say that's in different product categories. One of the big ones, for us this year has been thermal, significant growth in thermal.
Is that in the UK?
UK. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really quite interesting that on the thermal side, I think I've been spending quite a bit of time out with customers, and I thought it was to do with perimeter protection. So lots of growth in large sites, solar farms, renewable type sites where thermal's being deployed because it delivers, very effective long range perimeter protection. And also with, PoE enabled cameras, etc., you can now, civils are a lot cheaper. The cameras are a lot more cost effective than they used to be. But interestingly, we ran some SI roadshows, and one of the biggest areas was actually early fire detection. That is a massive growth area. So vape fires in waste disposal sites, for example, EV charging points.
Yes.
Thermal is being used a lot, and this is not as a replacement to fire detection and suppression systems. These complement, but yeah, that's grown a lot. What we have seen though is it's been quite a small number of SIs that have tapped into this, which is why we've been running some roadshows to try and share best practice. And in a room we had quite a close, small event with about kind of 15, 16 SIs in the room. And whilst we've seen this massive growth, only, was it 2 or 3 companies put their hands up and said, look, thermal grow massively. A lot of people aren't, which is crazy. We've seen this growth, but actually there's even more out there.
I must admit, we did a large quote the other month for somebody on the EV for the fire side of things, the thermals, and it was a central London apartment block, underground car park, and the insurance company said, what are you doing about fire prevention? And they went, oh, I've not thought about that. We then pitched the idea of the thermal cameras, and actually, yeah, they've submitted it to the committee as such, and hopefully that is something that will come in. But we've definitely seen a growth in that, like you say, on the thermal side.
Is it more in particular products that you're seeing the growth, or in general with other products within the the ecosystems as well?
Yeah, so I think on the thermal side, it's more of our kind of entry and mid-level thermal cameras that we're seeing the massive growth, and that's because the price point is at a position where it's not wildly different to a kind of reasonable mid to top level visual camera. There are some much larger deployments, so there was a test going on with actually looking at thermal out to sea, overseas kind of boat detection. That's quite a little bit different use of thermal, but you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds for a single device, whereas for like a Eureka thermal entry level is like 350, something like that.
I've seen the cost of thermal has dropped considerably over the years. So let's say, for example, you were to go back 10 years ago and you were to mention thermal to a customer, they might turn around and you would give them the price. You'd be talking maybe in the thousands at that point. But now, like you said, we're talking sub £500 or so.
We're seeing thermals being deployed in high-end residentials now, which is kind of pretty
That's unheard of
normally. But you're starting to see that, because I think the integrators are seeing the value, and if you've got a high value property, and you've got people, you've had threats previously where people kind of hang around in the in the perimeter. Thermal can't. I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding of the market around thermal. Thermal can't see through trees, can't see through physical objects, but you can see
heat.
A warm object in a hedge, for example.
Yeah.
You do need to be able to physically see that kind of heat signature. But thermal's a big one. I think just to kind of come back on the general trend, I think end users, I think with like the advent of kind of ChatGPT and everything else, there's lots of intelligence at people's fingertips. They're starting to become way more aware of what's possible, and it's not just the security managers that are coming up with these ideas. It's the innovation managers in retail. It's the kind of warehousing logistics guys that want to improve efficiencies. They're saying how can I help? And really good system integrators will come back with a solution, and video security, and access control and all these kind of things certainly can create some pretty compelling solutions.
So we're seeing growth in the market. How does that, and this is probably going to be leading up to Steve, is how does a new brand enter a market which is already seeing some growth? Is it something that you think, UK's got growth, we can jump into that market? How are you finding it at the moment?
Yeah, well, we are seeing growth. That was going to be my answer. I was going to say we were in growth, but also transition, because the transition comes from new players, challenger brands like TP-Link and some other names that will come up over the course of discussion, perhaps. It's the world's oldest CCTV market, to use that old phrase. It's a tough challenge, but we have a good offering, we think. But yeah, it's getting out there, and it depends. No matter what name is on your jacket or what hat you wear, people buy from people, right? So
Correct.
if we can go out there and go on existing relationships that we built over the course of the careers with the salespeople we have a dedicated team. We have for the security industry, we have a dedicated team to different verticals and what have you. So we've got people out there in hospitality, in retail, in education. So we're going after those pillars, if you like, but then generally we have a mass approach to the market where, you know, you're going to see the installers you know and tell them the TP-Link story and what we can offer. And then you're going to security events and doing things just like this to spread the word and wave the flag and say we're here now.
How are you finding it where, let's say predominantly you're going to a customer who are quite loyal to a brand? I won't say a brand. Let's say they've always been loyal to this brand, and then you're going in and saying, look, we've got this new offering. How does it? What feedback do you get from the customers? That, oh no, we're sticking with, like, you know, people with cars, they're always happy with one brand, and then someone comes along with a different brand, and I know I'm through and through them. How are you finding those challenges?
Some really easy and convert really easily, and then some you have to force the door open, and then when you do, you can impress them, and in most cases we have. Oh, surprised! I thought you were more of a consumer brand. TP-Link does have that strand to its business, of course, but we also have this very professional B2B offering, and then you can say, oh, okay, you've opened my eyes to that, and then some you can't win them all. So some you might open the door, but then not for us, not this time. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all result, sadly. I wish they were all easy. But yeah, we're getting there, but it is a tough market. No one likes change so much.
Yes.
If you've got a whole team trained on one certain product in one certain discipline, do you want to consider doing all that again? We can help with that with our free training and what have you that we hold around the country. But yeah, we're getting there, mate. Yeah, thank you.
And in that respect, James, how do you see it? Because you're dealing with installers on a day-to-day basis. So you're dealing with customers. Someone might come and buy one brand, someone might come and buy another brand. How are you seeing if you introduce a new brand to an installer?
I think it goes back to what we discussed last time with the trust element. And I think that there's a lot of new brands coming into the market. You've obviously got your big established ones that have been around a long time. But there's opportunity out there, like we've already discussed, the market's in transition. So there's opportunity for somebody to come in and go, look, have a go at this. I think for the distributors, you've got to have that trust to go, well, look, we've looked at this product, you're using this. Actually, have you considered this? You can't go in and do the hard sell. Like I say, you've got to go in and everybody's going to take a different approach and do that. You offer the training, you show them the product, demonstrations. I think probably the most successful way of doing it is to get the product in front of them.
Seeing is believing.
Absolutely. Because you've almost got to offer them something different. If you go in and offer them the same product at the same price, why are they going to change? But I think there's definitely opportunity out there at the moment. Like you say, we're seeing a lot of new brands coming in. I mean,
what's steering the installer to start looking at a different brand? Because if I'm happy with fitting a brand, why do I want to start looking elsewhere? So there's got to be some incentive for them to take a look. What do you think?
I think there's a couple of elements. I think at the moment there is that growth and there's new products entering the market all the time. So it's kind of that, I saw they released that product. I'm going to have a quick look. And it builds that pressure to go, actually, I'm going to give my next install, I'm going to give that a go.
A chance on that.
Yeah. And at that point, you're in, and they go, really like that, I'm going to carry on doing it. Or, wasn't for me, I'm going to stick with what I know.
Very true.
That's one element. And then I think there's a little bit of movement within the industry in terms of people are not massively happy with some of the service levels out there at the moment from distributors and from manufacturers.
Yes.
And they go, I'm not happy with that. Software updates all the time, firmware. Everything's a bit difficult. Actually, I've got a quiet week, especially now coming up to Christmas. It's kind of either you are mowed out and you haven't got time, or actually I've got a couple of days. I'm going to have that conversation with somebody that I was putting off because I've not had time.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have a look, because it's a bit like the Samsung Apple thing. They have to do something drastically wrong sometimes to thingy, but
Yeah.
I feel like that's happening more. There's more opportunity.
I'm hearing that a lot more with a number of brands.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, one of the topics that always comes up is firmware updates and revisions, and the recorder not matching up with the end product. So let's say it's a camera. And then a couple of stories I've had is an installer bought the products from the distributor. So let's say I bought the products from yourself, gone out and installed it. However, there's a fault because the firmware on them aren't matching up. So they speak to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer turns around and says, yes, we know there's an issue. However, we haven't got the new firmware yet. So then the customer goes back to his end user and says, right, I can't fix it yet because the firmware is, they'll say, rip it all out. But then you go back to the distributor says, well, there's not really a fault with it.
Yep.
So the installer at that point is pulling the hair out, saying, what do I do? I'm in no man's land. It's not my fault.
Yep.
Have you heard? You must have heard that.
We get it all the time. The first question that we ask, what firmware version is it on? Which is the wrong thing to ask. It should be, right, what's the problem? How do we fix it? And 99% of the time, it's firmware issue, which is ridiculous. It shouldn't be like that. Yes, incremental changes in the firmware, but it shouldn't stop the product from working. If Apple now decided, right, new firmware,
And it knocks all the phones out.
Yeah.
Everyone will be on uproar, won't they?
the world would stop. And I think there's this kind of, I mean, I can't remember the last time my phone did an update, probably a few months ago. I feel like with certain products and certain brands, it's every week. And it's, for an installer, you've installed 100 recorders, and now all of a sudden you've got to go back and update them all, or a key feature won't work. How do you manage that?
And I think that sometimes does encourage the wrong decision, because there is if it's working,
Don't
fix it kind of approach. But then the best practice policy should be, you should always be on the latest firmware for security updates and what have you. And that is a big strength that TP can offer with our platforms that allow the remote accessibility to your sites if you have them on our cloud platforms. Our firmware is very strong. You can do it over the air. And it is just as easy as doing it on your phone. It will pop up saying, there's a firmware update. Do you want to do it? Yes or no?
I think that it is a key feature that if you were to say to an installer, Steve's site's gone down, however, from your phone, you can log into that unit, press a button, and it'll update the software automatically. I don't need to go to site.
The best example I can give you, we were in our demonstration van, which has both of our Armada networking product and our VIGI security product on it. We were on a 4 or 5G connection with the router in the van. We'd finished doing the VIGI part of the demonstration, and it popped up, just coincidentally popped up as we were finished. Do you want to do the firmware update, yes or no? Pressed yes, didn't think anything of it, went away, did our half an hour networking demonstration, came back, and it was done. And we didn't need to do anything about it. It was that simple. And I was like, at that point, I was like, well, that's a major thing that we have that we can offer to the customer base who have that complaint that James just talked about. So, yeah, we're in a good place for that one.
One thing that I do see on some manufacturers' equipment is it says it has the ability to do that.
But it doesn't do it.
It doesn't do it. It's useless. Take it away. Get rid of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we see it all the time where it says check for update. You click it, up to date. It's 3 years old, the firmware. So don't give, but again, it just causes confusion for the customer going, I'm on the latest version. You're not.
No, you're not.
You're 3 years old. There's been like 10 iterations from that point on. And that, again, creates opportunity for these new brands coming in because they go, I'm sick of this. I'm just, right, let's try something else. And one thing I would say, to sort of caveat what Steve's just said, we did see when they first introduced this kind of thing, not with TP-Link, but with other manufacturers, they did push updates and break things. And I think that's one thing to be really careful with manufacturers, where they push out new updates. It's not been tested thoroughly. There's something they go, oh, we've now turned off audio. That's happened with a manufacturer where they pushed an update and now audio didn't work. But again, that was a few years ago. So the world has moved on a little bit since then.
I don't think we're ever going to get away from firmware updates, are we?
I think firmware updates are just part of the
parcel.
industry, as you've got ever advancing products where you've got new feature sets that are being released, and also cybersecurity elements that need to be managed and patched. So important updates. I think from the Dahua side, things have improved a lot around the way that we release the firmware, and also we've now introduced a product called DLink Care. DLink Care is an installer package which enables you effectively to help with the initial kind of setup of an installation. But importantly, when the site is installed, if the end user agrees, then the installer can have remote access maintenance. And we've now got a few thousand installers on DLink, and the use case that I'm hearing is every morning they'll check the sites, they'll get an alert, they can update remotely, and effectively they can deliver
so now
a remote
Dahua's
visit.
moving to remote updates as well.
Yeah, for sure. But enabled by the installer.
Right.
So and they can also see if there's a hard drive failure, they can see it, they can contact the customer and say, hey, you've got a problem, before the end user knows it. And I think that's where some of these updates and the market is evolving to a better place, where an end user probably won't know their hard drives failed until they need it. They say, where's the evidence? I haven't got it anymore.
Oh, that was that proactivity, isn't it?
It's proactivity.
It was beeping. I've turned it off.
For sure, exactly. So that's a really powerful kind of addition to our portfolio, which and that's come back from feedback from installers, because it costs a lot to revisit a site.
That's it. And who pays for that? It's the installer at the end of the day, isn't it?
It's
every time they have to go back there,
that's right.
Their margin, right? So
for sure, yeah. They might have some kind of maintenance package, but if it's an error that, if it's an error that's been kind of created soon after the install, the end user won't want to pay for that.
No.
It's the installer.
But then, if it's also, let's say, manufacturer's fault, can the installer claim compensation from the manufacturer or not?
I've seen it in extreme cases.
Yeah,
like I used to see it when I used to work back in Norbane days. The installer would put a compensation claim against the distributor. Like, for example, let's say the such and such camera is not working, they've had to go out, they have to have a cherry picker, XYZ is built up to a couple thousand. They would put the compensation claim towards the distributor. Then it was up to the distributor to decide, right, do we pay this, keep the customer happy? Do we claim it back up? Do we claim it back from the manufacturer?
Yeah. I've never seen it.
It really depends. I think from what I've seen, you collectively want to resolve the issue
as quickly as
possible.
possible.
The most extreme example that I was aware of was a kind of a public sector, public space deployment, and there were multiple vendors in this installation. Right? So you had Dahua cameras, but you had some other VMS type software, etc., going on. They were switching it on kind of over the weekend, and it just stopped working. It stopped working because the software provider had updated something in their system, and it just stopped working. So obviously you've got everyone panicking. It's a big issue. Fair play to Dahua's kind of R&D centre. Over the weekend, they were able to kind of dial into the system. They created a patch, created an interface to the new setup, switched it on, all working. And actually, that goes beyond it. Compensation is a negative, really negative thing. No one really wants. What you really want is the issue resolved.
Yes, everyone's
and that
happy
then gives you, if you can. There are always challenges in complex installations, and particularly now where you've got many systems working together. Yes. You can't guarantee that everything is going to work perfectly.
Correct.
And actually, it's not just, and it might be working perfectly in the mind of the person that developed it, but actually the end user is doing something different to what they thought they'd agreed. So there's always some kind of ambiguity, and it's about working together to the right resolution. And if you're, from manufacturer perspective, distributor perspective, kind of installer perspective, end user perspective, if you're working collaboratively together to get a solution together, it builds great kind of relationships, and it really helps, a lot further down the line.
What I would say to that is that at the high end level, like you said, the integrators and sort of the council projects, that kind of the bigger projects,
You get better support quickly, do you?
massively.
Yeah.
I would say the smaller guys at the bottom get forgotten about very quickly. We've had it with a customer where it was a major manufacturer, not Dahua, and customer had one of their new colour view cameras experience serious ghosting. Literally a person would disappear and reappear.
Can you just state it wasn't TP-Link either?
It wasn't TP-Link.
I bit my lip for a couple of seconds.
And they worked for 6 months, finally admitted there was a problem with the camera. It was firmware, apparently.
Right.
The customer had spent thousands of pounds. It wasn't a huge job. I think it was 12 cameras or something, not massive. They offered them 6 free cameras, so 50%, and they had to pay to replace the other ones. And it kind of leaves a really sour taste in the mouth for the smaller guys. I've got another customer where they've bought a load of switches, not TP-Link, or Armada, and they've had, I think, 4 or 5 go faulty within the last few weeks. They're saying, look, I'm having to go back to site. It's an hour away.
Who's going to pick up this
Yeah.
tab? Yeah.
And I've literally been told, it is what it is. That's the nature of the beast. And again, there is an element of that. I understand stuff goes faulty. But the fact that it's the same switch that's
And
going...
so many of them, and there's...
And if you Google it, there's a known issue with those switches. A lot of people complain about them. So, and the customer pointed that out to me and said, look,
Why are you selling it when there's no issue? Or why is the manufacturer not picked this up?
what are they going to do about it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the answer I have to give is nothing. And then we've worked with the customer to kind of come to an agreement. But again, we're out of pocket, customer's out of pocket, big brand, not interested.
I think that goes back to the word at the start, transition. I think there's 2 things. There's the adoption of these platforms, like Dahua's, like the ones that TP offer, where people can look into, diagnose and fix problems remotely via the cloud platforms to save the 90 minutes to site, the 10 minutes on site to fix the simple problem it might be, and then the 90 minutes back. You can do that from the comfort of your office.
Or if you do diagnose it's faulty, you could get a replacement, so it's only one visit to site.
So the time saving, the cost saving, and I think also that in terms of transition, the movement to one supplier. So it's a one-stop shop. So again, Dahua offer this, we offer this. So you don't, we've all seen it. There's a problem with a third-party software potentially, and third-party
No one's
hardware.
going to take blame because
No
you're
one.
saying that
They both
you-
blame each other.
Yeah.
And then the customer,
Lose.
yourselves, your customer, is in that gap in the middle, and all they want to do is find the resolution.
Yeah.
And you've got days, weeks, whatever, when no party wants to say, well, okay. So, but if you have,
So that's if an installer, if you say to
Yeah.
installer, keep everything under one ecosystem, we can manage it a lot.
there's no conflict between the networking provider and the security provider, because we now do both. It's one phone call for support. It's one warranty if there is a problem. So yeah, I think that's another transition I think we're seeing is that one-stop shop.
Very interesting.
Just a quick reminder that today's episode is sponsored by Seagate. As the data age emerges, the insatiable hunger for greater storage capacity accelerates at an astronomical rate. To answer these needs, Seagate's advanced engineering team has developed HAMR, heat-assisted magnetic recording. It requires a new media magnetic technology on each disk that allows data bits to become smaller and more densely packed than ever, and can deliver storage of up to 30 terabytes for use in surveillance recorders. This boost in aerial density will help fuel hard drive product development and growth through the next decade.
You know, back in the days when people would have a video surveillance system installed, etc., the front end would 99% of the time be the recorder, because you'd have a monitor in front of you and you'd have the recorder. You see the GUI. There's been more of a shift now that it's gone to an app-based. You you know, everyone's really, the front end, you're looking at an app, whether it be on your phone, whether it be on a tablet, whether it be via a PC desktop. How important do you think it is, the development of the app and the features and what it can do? Because that's now pretty much 90% of what the end user and also the installer works on. How do you think that's, you know, if you was to go to an installer and you've got two very good products, but then you show them the two different apps, what do you think is going to steer them to go with the manufacturer?
Oh, the app definitely pushes them to that. How easy it is to use, sort of what they've got to do is sell it to their customer as well. So when they go to the house that they're installing in, they can go, look, this is what I'm going to sell, like you said before, the added value. I would say we sell a monitor with 1 in 10 recorders now.
I've been noticing that there's a lot less shift towards having an actual monitor, unless it's in a commercial environment, etc.
I think, was it Ajax when they first introduced...
Did it have a HDMI output on their NVR? Because they said everyone's going to be viewing everything from the app.
I think they've added it now, haven't they?
Yes.
But I think it is a small use case. I think a lot of people now, we speak to them and say, if we're diagnosing a fault or whatever, what's on the monitor? I don't know, I haven't got one. And I think you push people down the app road, it's just so much easier. I've got a monitor on mine, it's in the loft, never use it unless I want to change some settings. But again, you can do it all within the app now.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the kind of residential, small commercial, it's majority
app based.
For the, you know, the commercial, bigger kind of commercial deployments in like kind of a retail site, public space, etc., then you'll have a monitoring station. And for, you know, what we're seeing in a rapid site deployments, you will also see small monitoring stations. But the app is critical. And for us, we have our DMSS, our kind of end user app, and that's improved a lot. So I've been Dahua for 6 years, and it's evolved a lot over that period of time. I think Dahua historically very focused on the equipment, great quality, you know, cameras and NVRs. I think it's fair to say probably 5-10 years ago, less focus on the app software. So there's been a lot of investment. You know, we're investing $500 million every year in R&D, and an increasing proportion of that is in this software side, whether it's DMSS, whether it's DLink, or we have our DSS Pro, which is our more kind of enterprise level software solutions. These are, you know, critical parts of the video security system and the whole kind of ecosystem of a customer's deployment, which is, why it's important for us. We can continue to invest in it. You know, the challenge with the app, certainly for an end user app, is when you've got video security, door entry, access control, intruder alarms, etc., and you start to add on all these things, trying to bring simplicity to what is actually incredibly complicated installation makes it more complicated. So there's always ongoing work to simplify and improve, and we have an initiative which enables customers and our pre-sales team to feedback straight to HQ on any, you know, user improvements. We call it kind of a 5E system. So you can raise a ticket, it goes in, those enhancements are made. So it's never a big thing. It's iterative change, constant improvements. So totally agree. Very important.
Yeah, I agree with what the guy said. Yeah, it's for the end user. We do everything else on our phones, right? Why would you not monitor your security? You get the buzz in your pocket, someone's intruded into your driveway or whatever. Yeah. Then but you have to cater for everything. You know, maybe in the example you gave, Ajax, maybe that's where it's going, but maybe they went too early. Maybe 5-10 years time that'll be absolutely perfect. But we'll have the VMSs. We have got a really good app ourselves. It's definitely the way it's going.
Because I think if we go back before we had apps, you would potentially sometimes an installer might go install one brand of video surveillance. There'll be a separate brand of intruder alarm, might be a different brand of door entry access, like you're saying. But now, because some of the brands are bringing everything under one roof, you might not want 3-4 different apps on your phone. You know, if you go to an end user and say, right, this is what you're going to do to view your CCTV. This is what you're going to do to set your alarm. This is what you're going to do to open your doors, etc. What they're going to turn around and say to you?
Not a chance.
Give me one app
Yeah.
that I can do everything with.
Well, the end game is to a solution rather than piecemeal bits, isn't it? So yeah, we're all going after the total
And I think
solution
that's
when
where
we can.
we're seeing more and more manufacturers developing their own ecosystem with the full range of security, in effect. I can see it with all manufacturers. You know, you touched on Ajax there. We can see Ajax, they initially only came out with intruder alarms.
Yeah.
But then they've, you know, moved into video surveillance, the doorbells, fire, and then there's obviously going to be more adding on to that. And we obviously Dahua, you
Absolutely.
didn't used to do intruder alarms before, did you?
No, now we've got our air shield range, and that's growing quick. We've got our doorbells, and doorbells are, doing unbelievably well. I thought it was a very busy, kind of congested market, but actually, we
I
were
think on
we were out of
doorbells,
stock. So
You're right on doorbells. It is a congested. There is hundreds and hundreds, probably even thousands of doorbells out there in the market. But I'd say you could probably narrow it down to probably 10 that you could say this is the top 10 in the doorbells. And some of them are probably still in the consumer range. Some of them are in the actual, you know, from the security side of things. So
Yeah, and ours, we're a trade, manufacturer. We used to have the IMO brand, which is the consumer brand, now sold and completely separate kind of entity. But the Dahua brand is installed by installers professionally. So the idea of the doorbell is it should be integrated as part of an overall solution, whether it's our intruder or video security. That's our market, and that's what we'll continue to focus on.
do you think that like TP-Link, because you're doing network, you've predominantly come from a networking infrastructure moving into the surveillance market. Do you think in the long term, they might also start adding extra products like intruder alarms and, access control and stuff?
There's whispers of moving into other disciplines, certainly,
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
via acquisition or developing the technology with the massive manufacturing capability that the company has, certainly. And then it's all more on the consumer side, but under the well-known Tapo brand, there are doorbells and what have you there. It would only be a small step.
Modify it a bit and add it into the range
To
and
put
stuff,
it
isn't
into to something on the B2B side. I don't think there's any plan to do that currently. But yeah, as we've been talking about in terms of, again, the T word, the transition, everything's in flux, everyone's going towards that kind of model. So yeah, I'd be astounded if that doesn't happen at some point. Yeah.
Do you see any movement in the market where customers are moving towards probably more cost-effective but feature-rich products, or they're still sticking with your standard high performers? Now, I bring that, so it's a bit of a mix, because Dahua's, predominantly has been a strong brand, feature-rich, and price has been quite,
I think that price always plays a part in a customer's decision. So we've seen, we've got kind of 7 series, 5 series, 3 series, and then there's a 2 series, kind of more entry level. I think that customers are looking for price, but they're looking more rather than just the core price. And you do have some people that are penny pinching, honestly. But then perhaps not looking at the overall cost of the solution. What we are really seeing is around the kind of value. So, Dahua is never going to be the cheapest in the market, but the products that we have are good quality products in the UK, always metal case products, always well finished, always very robust. I'm not sure it was kind of tongue in cheek, but chatting with a customer that said that, your products, they last too long. I need to replace them. I think I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing, right? So they want to get some kind of upgrades. I think we are getting. I think with AI, you're starting to get kind of great features in our 3 series kind of TIOC type range. But you've got some customers that like the idea of the TIOC, T-Op Pro, the kind of low light performance, etc., but don't want to pay that premium, so they're moving to the kind of 2 series, where they can still think of things like smart dual light, so a light that comes on only when a specific trigger is created, either tripwire or whatever it might be. So it's really a value rather than a specific price. I'm not saying there aren't people, and James, you'll be able to comment directly because you get people that you're going to kind of all the time having this question. But we're saying I think it's a value play, and I think part of it is around good engagement with the end user to specify, correctly, because you don't want to over specify, but also you absolutely don't want to under specify, a solution to a customer's need, because a price point difference on a camera as against the resource of labour on a site and the cost of an overall solution, it's that price point is completely dwarfed by the overall cost of a solution.
Yeah, we see, I think I totally agree with what you've said, where with the range of products, like you say, the 2 series, we do see very good sales on, because a customer comes in and says, look, I really like the T-Op Pro, but I'm not going to utilise 100% of the features. It does seem a lot of money for that. I think one thing I really like with the Dahua range is there is a big range. Like you said, you've got your 1 series camera, which is your bog standard sort of, which now is smart hybrid light as well. So if you just want a camera, just put it up.
Would
at
you
your
not
back
sometimes
garden.
say there's too many products in range? Like I know,
Yes.
we TP-Link have just come out with a simple. There you go, turrets, bullets, etc. But then, how do you?
I think certainly when I first joined Dahua, it was nuts. There were so many products and new products coming in all the time.
Every other week.
So the distributors that I was chatting to at the time said, by the time you release something, there's something else coming out. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? This is crazy. I need to move the other stock on. Things have matured, a lot. So whilst Dahua has availability of a massive range, in the UK we're quite careful about what we bring in. We work very much in partnership with distribution partners, installers. We've got a wide range, but it's a range designed for specific market segments.
Who makes that decision? Is it you guys in the UK office that will say, right, we're only going to introduce this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our channel team and our UK product managers, my team work kind of collaboratively together with our customers to make sure we've got that ranging. Do we get it right all the time? No. Quite clearly, certainly with some of the new products, because you're taking a punt on. You think this is where it's going to go, and it might not. But if there's no demand in the market, if our distribution partners aren't willing to place orders and installers don't show an interest, then it ain't coming. Yeah. And that's it's the challenge sometimes where I talked about the kind of doorbell, for example. Globally, that's been around for a while. We didn't think there'd be a massive market for it. We had a VTO that delivered, good performance. One or two distribution partners took a bit of a punt, gone. So constant now. So there's demand there. So say we don't always get it right, and that's a joint thing. But I think we are one of the beauties of Dahua as a business is our localization. That there is a lot of strength in the kind of UK and Ireland. It's up to us what we bring in partnership with. It's not a utopia. Nothing is, but it's all about kind of partnership, and it's not in our interest to bring lots of equipment in the country that no one's ever got a chance of selling.
I think
it's just crazy.
I think we sort of, there's probably 4 Dahua products on the IP range, camera-wise, that we keep high stock of. And that's sort of 4 different price points, entry-level 1 series, then your 2, then really there's 3. There's the 1 series, the 2 series, then the 3 series T-Ox. Those kind of, a customer comes in, right, what's your budget? What feature do you want? This one does this one, then that one. And where does it fit? And we see sometimes they go, right, well, for the back, I want those ones. Front door, I want the T-Op Pro, I want pride of place kind of thing. And I definitely agree. In the previous days, you saw products coming in all the time. I mean, we used to place orders. It'd be on the water coming over from China. before it had even arrived with us.
There's a new
version, and it's crazy. Whereas now, I think the TIOC Pro's been out over 12 months.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a lot of the TIOC was actually one of my first launches in the UK 5 years ago. It was its 5th anniversary, which, I mean, that says something, because this never used to be the way. Yeah. We've matured a lot as a business.
It is a matter of opinion, isn't it, where that sweet spot is, whether someone's got too much or someone's got too little. When I used to work at Dahua, we used to get you've got lots of cameras that seemingly do the same thing, and you go, well, they've all got its purpose and something. But then when I was at Sony many years ago, it was, you don't quite have enough, and you don't refresh it anywhere near enough. So you're never going to please everyone all of the time. So it is that sweet spot, and we're aiming. Currently, we've got what we've got, and I was pleased to hear that you think we're getting it about right at the moment. And I think your review of it said it was very feature rich for the money. But yeah, we will watch that develop, and we're much the same as Dahua, the product managers. Yeah, if something doesn't come in and it doesn't quite fit, then it's not for the UK market anymore. Yeah. So you do have that local decision-making ability.
There's one thing you just touched on there. It was a conversation we were having outside. It was about Sony. Now, because Steve told me that he worked for Sony in the early days. My question was to him, or it's more of a statement, is Sony was one of the first manufacturers who put all their eggs into IP. Okay? Might be probably a bit before your time, before you joined it. It may have been probably, not sure if... But they moved everything, and I'm talking about 2007, 8-ish, 6, 7, 8, probably 5, 6, 7, 8, round about that time. They stopped doing anything through analog, moved everything to IP. And then I ask people now, so where's Sony? They're not around, are they? Was it probably, did they move everything too quickly into the IP and the market wasn't ready for it?
Maybe. I'm surprised at how much analog is still in the market, to be honest.
Why do you think that is? I know we had this discussion on a previous podcast. It's legacy. Is it legacy?
It is legacy. You've still got quite a mature installer base that are used to installing it. The fact that it doesn't happen anywhere near as much now, but in any of our Dahua training, say, make sure you got a laptop on site. Make sure you bring a laptop on site. Because most installers then, this is only 5-6 years ago, weren't taking a laptop on site, because a lot of it just
I think a lot still aren't.
Just put a BNC connector on there, off it goes. I've got a picture, great. There's still a market there, but things are evolving fast. So HD CVI, our range, the analog range, it's still there. Yeah. It's still important, but it's reducing.
Are you still actively developing more in the range? Because I have seen that with other manufacturers.
Look, we have HD CVI variants of the products, whether it's the kind of TIOC range or our kind of smart dual light, etc. So it's still there, and it still has investment, because actually it's still quite a significant kind of market.
Yeah. Well, and some of it's a marketing job, isn't it? Because they give it cool names. I'm not blaming you directly, but cool names like Turbo HD and stuff.
Okay, right.
Because analog is a dead
analog,
word.
Yeah, so who wants to hear analog now?
Yeah, and obviously you can do a lot more with the new variations of it, 4K and up to all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think some of it is a marketing play by updating the names and not just calling it analog anymore, keeps it visible and relevant.
Definitely. We see it with, I think, like you said, the TIOC, you do a CVI range. We don't sell any of them because I think once you reach that roof of the price, people go, I might as well go IP now.
Yeah, for sure.
And whereas we have in the analog range, I think we have 2 cameras which we sell the most of, and that's an infrared black and white camera at night or the colour view. End of.
Yeah.
That's it.
What do you say is the mix of hows you get in people asking for IP to your analog stuff?
Value wise, it's always going to be slightly skewed because of the price difference. Actual quantities, I'd probably say 75-25 IP to CVI. You do have those customers, like you say, that I've only ever installed analog. I'm not interested in IP. They're scared of an IP address.
We find that with our customer base,
it's changing as the older installers retire effectively, and new talent, comes in. For us, we sponsor, for example, skills for security.
Yeah.
And other initiatives with local colleges,
Okay.
and we do that because we want to make the video security industry feel a bit sexy. You want to bring people in, and historically, it's not been perceived as being an amazingly sexy place to be.
We're helping that today.
Actually, incredibly male dominated, which is a challenge for the industry. So more females, more kind of young people need to come into the industry, and that is changing this. Too, because the IP networking is just standard fare, right? Of the modern system, and understanding kind of networks and systems is critical, because there's lots of misunderstanding about it. So
and that's where it helps with the brands like your DLinks, ourselves, because networking isn't so scary anymore to the traditional installer. That's where you're now seeing the move. So I think the price point between obviously IP before, as you talked about thermal before, the price was way higher and it's come down. The same thing's happened with IP generally. Yes. So that gap between IP being up here and analog, whatever we're referring
over the
to
years,
as
you
gap,
just see that coming
squeezed.
down.
And then we're seeing more of our networking-based customers wanting to not walk away from
a job,
putting the endpoint devices on, and we're seeing more of our traditional security installers saying, well, IP isn't that scary. Let's go on a course and let's learn how to do it.
And I think the ease of installation has sort of improved. I think if you look at sort of 5-6 years ago, to install an IP system, you needed to kind of have a fairly decent understanding of networks.
Yeah.
I think I kind of liken it to if you developed a website 10 years ago, you needed to code.
That's right.
Whereas now you kind of
go on, you can make one yourself, couldn't you?
Yeah.
In an evening, you could sit down and make one.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of happened within this industry where it's become easier.
More plug and play stuff.
Plug and play things are more templated, like especially in the website analogy. There's a template there, and you just fill in the bits, and then it spits it out for you, really.
Absolutely. And I think if you want to then take it to the next level, you do need that understanding. But I think that separates. I mean, one discussion you had on here previously was about regulation and that kind of thing. I think that naturally separates the good from the sort of standard installers. They can go in and they can use the features, they can set up extra things, set the network up correctly. We see it all the time where someone's, I've set this network, and you look and you go, oh, I wouldn't have done it like that. And you deal with the customers that, well, you don't really need to deal with them after you've sold them the kit, because they know what they're doing. They've kind of done the networking courses. They understand it to a very high level. And
I think that's interesting. I think I see comments from yourself, Umar, on LinkedIn, I think, with the cost of some courses to train. So it's in our interest to train people and get them more network savvy. And I think Dahua do it as well, to be fair. We offer free training courses. So we want to help that drive to improve knowledge, to improve comfort levels with taking on the network responsibility as well. And I think TP does it very well. Dahua does it. But there has to be that appetite as well from the other side. We have to, we're creatures of habit, but those guys that have never touched it before, if they want to stay relevant, they're going to have to embrace it. And we are making that easy to do so. We hold our training courses, very thorough training courses. We hold them in our own locations. We hold them at third-party locations around the country. So there's never one too far away. But I know everyone can't make every date and we're all busy people. But if you have that appetite, you have that drive to learn, then it's there for you now.
Yeah, and I think even beyond that, the information that's available on YouTube.
You never used to have that before.
No, I mean, I've never been on a training course. It's all self-taught because I've just gone, I wonder how that works. I'll Google it. I'll have a quick look online. I'll give it a go. And there's a lot of customers that are scared to try things. I mean, prime example, yesterday we had a customer that rang up for technical support, wanted to speak to me, and I was unavailable. I was in a meeting. I rang him back half an hour later, and
He'd solved it.
No, he hadn't even tried.
Oh, right.
He was waiting for me to hold his hand.
Right.
And, I mean, it's slightly thingy because I've known him a long time, but I just think, just give it a go. Give it a Google.
What's the worst
give
you're
it a
gonna
go.
do? Yeah,
it's not working. You're not going to make it worse. But people are very reluctant because they just go, It's numbers. I'm not sure. I haven't got a laptop, and my laptop's 10 years old, and it's not got a network port on it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, Steve, they've got to be willing to embrace it.
But ideally, they're testing it out and trying it out in their office or their home rather than being on site
with a customer.
with a camera and then on their help desk or distributor on the line saying, I plugged it in and it's not quite doing what I thought it was going to do.
Yeah,
You've got to take that leap, don't you, sometimes?
You do, and I think it's very difficult. Again, it's very easy for the manufacturer to say that because that in a dream world it should.
Yeah.
But a lot of, especially again the smaller, the one-man bands, they haven't got the time to. But if they've got that basic level of training, like you said before, with the fault finding, that kind of thing, you can diagnose that before. Sometimes it's an easy fix. An IP they've put in wrong,
and even
or
if they are
whatever.
busy, it's you could go with take a step back to take 2 or 3 forward. Take that day out from your busyness, put that aside for a minute, and come and learn something new, and new doors will open.
Absolutely.
So it's about that appetite, I think, really.
And it is difficult to try and, like, when you guys are setting training courses, at what time of the week do you set them? What time do you set them for? How much are you going to do a full day? Are you going to do half a day? It's a balance that you have to try and get to, isn't it?
Ours are full days, so it's 9 for a 9:30 start, and it goes on as long as the course needs to. And then there's an open book exam at the end of the day. So we are asking for 9:30 to about 4:30, and then you're OCNA or VCSA certified, AMADA or VIGI certified for 2 years it is. But yeah, we'll feed and water you through the day. There's not many reasons not to come.
And ours are usually on a Friday, but it can vary because we do training Maidenhead, Leeds, Dublin, and then on distributor sites. So we probably trained just under kind of 1,000 engineers this year so far on our sites and distributor sites, and those courses will be our associate course, which is only in terms of training time kind of 4 or 5 hours, I guess, something like that. But then you've got your professional, which is like a day, and then you've got your expert, which is a full intense day. And actually you can have different variants of that, so it could be multiple days, and those will typically be tailored to the SI.
See, I think the manufacturers are missing a trick as well in terms of all the training sessions. You have to go to them or you've got to go somewhere. I could be wrong, but I don't think anybody does an online one at your own pace.
You set me up there. You let me an open goal there. I like that.
I did it this morning. I got a new coffee
Love an
machine.
open goal.
The first thing I did, I opened it. How do I make a coffee? I scanned the QR code on it, and it was a video.
Yeah.
And it was a 15-minute video.
Was it an espresso machine, was it?
No, Ninja thingy one. And I'm like, what? Beans? Oh, God. But I could go at my own pace. I've got the little one napping at my heels, and I can go pause that. And whereas if I've got to take a full day out, or somebody's got to come and show me, again, these are busy people running businesses, and it's really difficult because stuff crops up.
Yeah.
And I think if somebody was to kind of do a course and even charge for it, it wouldn't be a thing, but you could...
Do you want to tap that one into that open goal? Or I go first?
You go first, and then I'll come after. It's fine, not a problem.
Thank you, first. Certainly, So we have video content regarding walkthroughs of our VMSs and on all that kind of stuff that we use in our webinars and then make available on different platforms. And then we are just by the end of this year, so very shortly, going to do online training, of which we can maybe cater for 12 to 16 people in a room, but being online, I think our current sign-ups is over 50.
What I've found in our training that we actually hold is we've always done everything face-to-face. I do get people all the time ringing up and saying, do you do online training? But what I have found myself is you want to get hands-on. Let's say even from the beginning, if they're going to make up a BNC, you want to see them made it up right. When they're connecting stuff onto a recorder, and they're programming IP address, and you want to see it, how they're doing it. So personally, from my perspective, I feel face-to-face, you can't beat face-to-face. But we also, I think, Skills for Security have developed a platform, I think, is it called Skills Learning or something along those lines, where people can go on and actually learn at their own pace. from quite a number of different disciplines as
Like
well.
a modular type.
Yeah, modular. So let's say, for example,
Bite size or whatever.
designing an intruder alarm system. So for the designing side of it, you can do that online. So you choose that, and then I think it's a yearly subscription, but you get access to probably about, I think, just under 100 different types of courses. But I think that is one thing that we're looking at, is people learn in their own time, because not everyone can. Let's say if you're a one-man band installer, you taking a day out of your working week to go and sit at a training course, you got to think, right, I'm going to lose wages, I'm going to lose X, Y, Z. It is
Yeah, and I think it's it's a bit like insurance. Nobody wants it until you need it, and it's a bit like, well, I know how to set a system up, but it's when somebody goes, right, well, how do you set that up, that somebody goes, oh, I'm not sure. And then you've got to kind of go, right, well, I'll remember that I need to go on a training course to kind of do that. And there aren't many people that will be truly honest with themselves and say, I don't know enough. I need to go on a training course. And like you said, take one step back to go forward. And I think that's kind of where the online side of things, it could be a quick bang, bang, right. I want to set up IVMS or whatever.
Is it like insurance, or is it like security? Because we are a grudge purchase, aren't we?
Yeah, true.
There's that thing that floats around on LinkedIn that you see it with a budget before an incident and then the budget after an incident. So no one maybe thinks they need it until something crops up or occurs, and maybe then it's too late potentially.
You did touch on that one point where you opened up a coffee machine, you scanned, and it showed you a step-by-step video.
Yeah,
I think it could be a thing for manufacturers where you open up the thing, scan it, and it shows you step by step. Everyone's probably had maybe a Virgin or a Sky box or something, and they send it you, and they have a big A4 page that shows, here's a yellow cable, plug that into the wall, plug the other end into the back. They've made it. I don't know if you guys remember that terminology. KISS, keep it simply stupid. Just keep it so simple that no one can get it wrong.
Or explain me like I'm 5 or whatever I don't know how prevalent they still are, but obviously unboxing videos were very popular. There was a little boom in them for a while. That kind of did that kind of thing, didn't it? I think.
Good point. I don't know how prevalent are they. They used to be good a few years ago, but personally, I've never done an unboxing video because I don't get aroused by opening up a box and pulling out all these bits and pieces. I like it when the main event and plug it in and see stuff like that.
Bizarrely, I think some people love
them.
Do love unboxing videos. I think the growth was because it creates content that you can publish on a platform, and you can generate minutes of views. Most of the unboxing are kind of consumer kind of unboxing.
It was like open an Apple because it was nice.
Open a box of trainers, whatever it might be. On the video security side,
screws.
We do.
A bracket.
We've got a
silica gel.
Well, like you said before, it's not a sexy industry.
Exactly. So you wouldn't be surprised. We don't do too many some of our customers do unboxing videos, and that's great. And we want more of our customers to be doing
it's
stuff.
More third-party stuff now, isn't it?
People
doing
fair,
it on your behalf or whatever.
I have come across a couple of manufacturers where the unboxing, when I unboxed it, I thought, wow, this is actually quite good. Like one of them, it is very close to Apple-esque, is Ubiquiti. Now, when you open up the whole camera out of the box, it's coming out in all different things, and you think, wow, this is actually quite a good experience. But I've not seen it in a lot of other brands. But yeah, it's a good point you touch on. The unboxing is, I think, probably phased out now. You don't see much.
I'd just rather get the product and do it myself. It's like I sit and watch my 14-year-old watch other people play computer games. Just play it yourself. I don't get that. I can open my own box. But,
AI. I want to just touch on AI. It's been a buzzword in the industry for quite a while. Do you think there's some features that people say, yep, we use that day in, day out, that's a really good feature, and then there's other AI features which literally are just hype and people don't even actually use it, but the manufacturers say, oh, we've got this that we can do. Oh, it's all good in the marketing, but by the time you get to it, am I even going to use it?
What is the hype? What's considered hype?
I think one of the things which kind of gets driven from an end user point, which we see a lot, is sort of TV and movies, where there's a feature on a movie where they've found this person, they've traced them
Or
here.
enhanced a number plate from
Yep.
so far, brought it up, it digitally enhanced it, and it's done stuff like
and
that.
now I can read that person's number plate, or I can see what face, what earrings they're wearing, anything. They get the wrong idea. And I think with the advancement in sort of like your chat GPTs and stuff like that, they think that's in there now. And to be honest, there are some features. I mean, I discussed it last time I was here about the Dahua AccuPick, where you can say, right, I want to see somebody walk through the lobby out there in a white jumper with blue pants on. And you could draw a box and say, right, I want to see all the instances. And it will. And I think that is now slowly drip feeding in. But I think you're right. Some of the manufacturers have massively played on the fact of AI, for example, facial detection and recognition. Actually, it's been around for 6 or 7 years. And yes, AI has improved it, but from a user point of view, it's the same. It's the same as it has been.
Yeah, look, I think AI's been around for a while. There are some elements that are just kind of part of the core. So, for example, big issue historically, false alarms from video security, from kind of environmental kind of leaves or kind of animals, etc. AI has enabled the better classification, identification of a human or a vehicle to reduce those false alarms, massively, which is a big benefit for end users. And also, if it's going back to an ARC, they love that kind of stuff because they don't want hundreds and thousands of false alarms that they've got to kind of respond to and act with. So I think that's like the kind of basic, and that's a constant iteration, and improvement. There's a thing of kind of AccuPick, and AccuPick for us is starting to kind of grow a lot with the ability to identify similar kind of objects in a field of view. So, example of a lost child in a shopping centre, for example. If you can find an image of where that child was, you literally kind of put a box. You can put a box around the child, right click, find all similar images, and it will tell you in real time where the last place that child was, and that's incredibly valuable. And that's within, historically that was only within high-end enterprise VMS systems. That is now in our kind of mid-level run rate cameras and NVRs. So that's where things are evolving. I think the other thing that we've only recently launched, or that we've been working on it for 6-7 years, is our Xinghang large language kind of models. And that's where you start to get things called like WizSeek is our name of one of our technologies, and this enables you to reactively search for things. So some with red shoes, bang, up it comes. Some with a mobile phone, bang, it'll show you within seconds. But the big thing that excites me is around text-defined alarms.
I think a lot.
So
text-defined
alarms. So, say for example, under Martin's law, where you've got an obligation as a venue owner to provide a level of security, usually kind of man guarding, protection, no bags, whatever else in a venue. You need to do that. But if you can supplement that by a tool that says, using your existing video security infrastructure, say, tell me when you see a rucksack. Someone comes in with a rucksack. Someone pulls a knife. Someone pulls a gun. These text rules can be running all the time, effectively.
As an alarm kind of thing.
So it's an alarm. So what happens is someone wanders in with a rucksack. So they've gone through the security. Somehow they've appeared with a rucksack. Suddenly there's an alarm. Then the security agents, can go in, do something with it. And that's evolving, a lot. There's a lot of really cool technology, not just on the security side, because there's applications in many, many other, vertical solutions. So I think, AI is constantly evolving. It's a really exciting kind of, area. I think some people are, perhaps kind of scared of the capability, but it's, things are evolving, things are improving, all the time. And I say for me, that text-defined alarms is really interesting kind of area that we're seeing a lot of initial, interest. I think it's a very exciting future, and it constantly develops.
I think I have to give credit to TP-Link in one aspect is when I was testing out the camera, I was surprised how many analytic stuff was in a budget range camera. Like, for example, it had line crossing, intrusion box, it had smart search, it had
human and vehicle detection.
It had so many things, and I'm like, what? This? Why? How they put all this just into a budget thing? So credit to
Thank you very much.
TP-Link on that. Still on the top, something just popped up into my head when you were talking about AI and the consumer thing. How many people have now seen all these AI-generated videos?
Oh, Sora.
Yeah. It's actually getting quite scary.
Sora.
Yeah, it's like an app where
Video generation
these deep
engine.
fakes.
Yeah, deep
It
fakes.
has got
Deep
the
fakes.
opportunity to do that, yeah.
Right. Okay.
How long is it before someone can deepfake video surveillance, and you wouldn't know? Hang on a sec. Did that actually happen?
I think you could do that now.
You could do it now.
Yeah.
But there is watermarkings and evidential stuff within the actual.
There are things that you can do. I think there was a BBC One drama series, was it called Capture or something like that, which effectively was using deep fakes to mimic a politician's activities.
Okay.
And it was video security, and they'd manipulated the images in kind of real time. You think, oh wow, okay, this is pretty.
Because now with the increase in social media and everything, when someone sees something, everyone becomes judge, jury, executioner straight away. Oh look, that blah blah blah. We're gonna lead to some times where there might be some deep fake video surveillance that's going around.
I think the challenge is that the volume of deep fake or artificial videos that are going on means that you are questioning almost everything that you see, and that's a challenge just generally for society and for youngsters coming through, where this has happened, did this not, did the cat really play the guitar, that kind of stuff.
We had the conversation in the shop the other day. We saw a video and we were discussing Scott's son.
Did it?
And you said, but you go, well, hang on a minute.
That looks really real.
Yeah, if I didn't know, I saw one and we were looking. It was Albert Einstein in a wrestling ring.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But if that's something where you go, I could kind of see that happening. I think the cheese.
Yeah.
And you go, I could see him saying that, but actually has it?
Yeah, but that was funny. I think there was a major Hollywood blockbuster. I think in the last 10, 15 years, they did something like this to the sitting US president, whoever it was at the time, in the film, talking about the incident, whatever the film, it might have been like an asteroid was hitting the Earth or something, and it was whoever the president was, but they took his image and put the text from the film or the script in the film, and they got loads of blowback for that, saying, you shouldn't be doing that, or because it could be misconstrued and everything. So that's been going on for quite some time, and obviously that was a Hollywood blockbuster 10, 15 years ago, but now we have that capability in our pockets.
We can do it in our pockets.
Yeah.
And if you were to lead that to, let's say, criminal activity, how would the police, first responders, come there and someone showing them, oh look, this is the footage I've got, etc. How are they going to determine straight away?
Yeah.
Is that deep fake? Is it not? I think there's a lot that's going to follow up in.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work in the industry around data integrity and integrity of the recording, the secure recording, and how it's made. Because there always needs to be a truth, and that truth is actually what happened, rather than what someone in their bedroom's done through Sora on their phone. Because you can create lots of kind of crazy things. Whatever you can think of, you can probably create, which is pretty nuts. So I think for us as an industry, there's a challenge around data integrity. But
there's always going to be bad actors and people with negative intentions. Hence, there wouldn't be the need for any of us in this room for the whole security industry. So the technology is going to be out there, and we have to trust that people are going to use it in the right way. So.
Yeah.
And you can, and what I would say is that actually, although you got the deep fakes, AI still has terrible trouble creating the human form.
You have like
So
deformed hands
you got like
and stuff.
six or seven fingers, and everyone's got wonky eyes, and it will get
It's going to get better, yeah.
It will get a lot better.
That's
but
just
you
me on a
can-
Monday morning, man.
If you had one thing, you had to pick one thing the industry needs to improve or fix, what do you think that one thing could be? And everyone would probably have a different perspective coming from manufacturers and also as a wholesaler stroke distributor. It's got everyone thinking now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big question, that. Online training, but we've sorted that.
Firmware is definitely one. I think that just kind of jumps to the front of my mind because we discussed it. But I think there is a problem at the moment with manufacturers just releasing more and more firmware. Like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But then you've got the security side of things that, like myself, would never be privy to. Actually, if there's a breach or whatever, or there's a vulnerability, I'm never going to know that. So that's a difficult one.
I might have actually said the firmware, to be fair, but I think blow TP-Link's trumpet, I think we have made massive strides with that. So I think TP-Link's point of view with the product that we offer, we have fixed that and made an improvement on that.
Probably nothing needs fixing.
No, well, I think for me, there's a couple of things about linked. The one is around new talent into the industry. So there's not enough people coming
Big
into
shortage, isn't
the
there?
industry.
Yeah.
So
Near enough every podcast we've done, everyone's talking about
skills for security.
They're doing a great
and
thing.
then there's other organisations out
Elevation,
there.
Banham,
but
and loads of
they
others.
talk about a 20,000 engineer shortfall, and that's probably underestimating the shortfall because it's not just video security; it's the whole
Everything else with it.
system that goes along with it. So I think there's part of it is attracting talent to come in and nurture, whether it's through apprenticeship programs or whether it's for people come from their degree. You want this industry to be attractive enough for people to want to come to it. And then the other kind of linked thing is education in the market. So there's so much misunderstanding of elements, whether it's cloud, what is cloud and how does cloud work, and the elements of cloud, where it could be kind of AI, or we talked about some of the kind of rules on kind of AI. So I was in some training. There was an example of the AI trip rules on one of our cameras, and there were about 18 to 20 lines on the camera. They were wondering why it wasn't working. The poor camera hadn't got a clue what was going on. I mean, there were so many tripwires that it's obviously always gonna alert. But and that's maybe kind of a small thing. But I think education is critically important for all of the industry, and it's not just the kind of new talent coming in, because you can nurture those people, you can develop them. You've got very, very forward-thinking organisations that are bringing in the talent, nurturing them, developing them in the kind of different skill sets. But actually, some of the more mature people in the industry, making sure they've got an understanding, because it'll make a big difference to their business. Their business will grow for sure, and also it'll help us, as an industry, because actually we can bring more value to the propositions to the customers.
If I was to say one thing that we'd fix, I think it'd be regulation.
See, I disagree. And I've thought about this quite a bit. And I think the problem with regulation, personally, I think it would cause the gap sort of that we're going to have where engineers are not coming in. It's going to increase that. I think that with regulation, you hire sort of the barrier to entry, and you risk sort of turning people away. However, I then understand the counter argument that you say you just get the cowboys coming in. But I would also argue the fact that the cream will rise to the top, and the good will last and the bad won't.
Yes and no, because, for example, now, I get many people asking me, where can I go and buy a brand of cameras? Let's say they want to buy a Dahua or a Hikvision camera, or even let's say a TP-Link, but an end user consumer. And I'll say, well, as a end user, you can't go into a store and buy that. But what you can do, you can go and buy their consumer brand. So, let's say they go and buy a Tapo or a iMu or something else. So my argument is they can have access to the consumer range of stuff. That's why the manufacturers brought out consumer range. But the higher end stuff, you need to be either like a trade. That's one thing, trade, but regulation.
But then I would say that the main distributors are pretty much trade only anyway. So But then I think you're open. I mean, if we get an end user walking into our trade counter, unless they show me real evidence that they know what they're talking about and they've done it themselves, even if they just say, "Oh, I'm just swapping out one camera in my house," I won't do it.
It's more headache for you at the end of the day, isn't it?
100%.
They're going to be on the phone to you and taking time. Is it worth it for that?
This is it.
One
And
sale.
It's very easy to go, yeah, but they're going to buy a camera off me right now. But you've got to think of the bigger picture and go, it's not worth it. And I think, again, we had the conversation before off camera about what we consider ourselves as a sort of, whether a wholesaler, a distributor or whatever. And I think some of the wholesalers have kind of tarnished that because it's just they're box shifters. They're not bothered who's coming in because they don't offer that service. They don't offer that level of support. So I don't think regulation would actually solve that problem necessarily.
But is there a good example just across the water in Ireland with is that what you meant with
Correct.
You have to be licensed to
Correct.
install it? And I don't know when
And
they
to
brought that
buy
in.
it
I'm
as well.
ignorant to that. But
Like,
then have they seen some of the negatives that you thought might happen? I don't know.
But
I like the way they do it over there.
Different
personally.
market.
Is it okay?
Yeah. Obviously, we're in Ireland and UK. I think, I think there could be kind of more regulation, but actually, what there should be is more of a focus in supporting people like kind of NSI, SSAIB, these other organisations that are certifying bodies with supporting installation, companies, and that should stand out to the point that the cream will rise to the top, because there are a lot of, for example, kind of electricians that are starting to move into the market, and if they're experienced, they come on the training, then they'll do some good jobs. But sometimes they'll go into like a screw fix or or whatever, and just buy whatever it might be with exposed cables, and you think, oh my god, anyway. This is really not very good.
They go into those places and don't know what they're installing until they see what's available or on clearance that morning. That's not the level of
But then I'd also
planning and
argue,
preparation that a good installer would have, is it?
Absolutely, but then I would argue that that's on the end user then, who's having the equipment installed, to make sure they've done. I mean, I want some furniture doing in my house. I've got 3 different quotes. I've asked them to provide me what are you actually going to do? That's then on the end user to kind of do a little bit of homework. They're not just ringing, found you on Yellow Pages, right, come and install some cameras.
Bit of due diligence.
Yeah, and again, it goes right back to the beginning when I said about the app. Look, here's what I'm going to install. That's on them. And again, back to my point, the cream will rise to the top, that they'll get the jobs. Yes, you're always going to get the cowboys. But again, I think they'll slip through the net. You will reduce it.
Yeah. One final topic I just want to touch on is we're probably not hearing much of it about now, and it's what we were talking about earlier on. NDAA. Personally, my opinion, no relevance in this country. Are you guys still getting people, talking to you, oh, it needs to be NDAA, and I can't have anything made Chinese, etc.?
So, I think I used to get asked it a lot, probably 3-4 years ago. It's been asked a lot less now. It still gets asked.
Yeah.
And for me personally, it's a little bit frustrating because NDAA stops US federal sponsored projects for funding a specific kind of manufacturer, which does not there's very small, very few kind of applications of that, in the UK. I think there has been some work from some manufacturers to try and get it factored into some specifications, but that is certainly, reducing a lot. And I think people are asking, the right questions, which is, can you specify the right solution for my problem? And here are the options on the table from, manufacturer A, manufacturer B, manufacturer C. And from my experience, we've done, quite well in those discussions, because we are, as I said earlier on, we're never going to be the cheapest, but we've got on the ground support. We've got high quality product. And in terms of our cybersecurity standards and everything else, we are, at the top, at the top level. So I think when you can have an informed discussion, it makes a big difference. When you're unable to have the informed discussion, that's when it becomes a little bit frustrating. I do have conversations with end users where they'll kind of flag some challenges. We'll talk it through, and 9 times out of 10, maybe more than 9 times out of 10, it's absolutely fine. Yeah. There is no issue. It's a misunderstanding.
There's a lot of manufacturers and distributors that love pushing the NDAA sort of agenda. And I totally agree with you. It's completely irrelevant in this country. And we sell sort of multiple brands. The Hanwha side of things is the non-Chinese, but we never push the NDAA. It's just not relevant in this country, like we keep saying. So. Can
I now push the NDAA agenda? No. I will try and be as impartial as I can. 6 years at Dahua for me, and it was against us. At TP-Link now, we do mention it. We're a challenger brand, so we have our very aggressive price point to entry. We have our excellent warranties. 5 years on cameras and MVRs. And then we also do mention the NDAA compliance. It doesn't come up in every conversation. Some people don't give a monkeys, but it does come up suddenly. And whether we like it or not, it is relevant to some people. Some people have made it part of their buying process. On the most relevant one I've got is on Friday. I'm going in to a customer who has a perfectly working system for one of the market leaders, but now all of a sudden they say they're going to rip it out and they want to go with an NDAA compliant solution. So how many times out of 10 is it happening? I don't know. But yeah.
And I think the truth of it is, well, my opinion, is that with government sites, do I want a foreign government sort of installing that? No. For my house, am I bothered if somebody in China or wherever wants to look at it? No. But we're all at it, I think, from that top level. I think if we produced our own, we'd be meddling. I think the Americans are meddling. The Chinese are that part of the industry and the world that we live in, the geopolitical sort of situation that we're in.
But it's interesting how some people pick their fights, isn't it? So we've all got phones in our pockets that are
made in China. All of them.
Yeah. So and again, there's a difference between NDAA and being manufactured in China. It's not a blanket ban, is it?
Correct.
You can still manufacture in China as we do,
yeah.
and be NDAA compliant. It's and being compliant isn't a case of doing anything. It's just not being placed on that list, right? So it depends. People coming out from different angles.
More of a geopolitical issue, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's when yeah.
I think it's it's calming down, for sure. So for us, I'm not saying it's not there. It is. But
it's forged in it's not talked about as much as.
I've definitely seen a drop off over the last 6 to 12 months. People asking about it.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for you guys taking out time, coming onto this podcast, and like I normally say to everyone, I hope to see you again on here in the future. That brings us to the end of today's discussion. A big thanks to Michael Lawrence from Dahua, Steve Klapiscak from TP-Link, and James Bentley from J&S Security for sharing their perspectives and being part of an open, honest conversation. This is what Room Secured is built on. Real industry voices, real experiences, and discussions that don't normally happen in the same room. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe and follow along. Plenty more conversations coming soon.